backdrop of nothingness. There exists an organization known as the Galactic Council of Apex Species, or GCAS, for those who can't be bothered with 5 whole syllables. The council comprises the most fearsome predators from across the universe, beings who've evolved to become the undisputed masters of their respective food chains. Take Councilor Vrax, a 12-foot-tall reptilian with acid-dripping fangs from the swamp planet Murtox, or General Zklk, an amorphous blob that absorbs prey through osmosis and has a delightful habit of burping out the undigestible parts during important meetings. Then there's Admiral Pincertooth, an exoskeletal nightmare with mandibles strong enough to crush titanium and who, despite popular opinion, does not have anger management issues. But thank you very much. The purpose of GCAS is simple: maintain the natural order of the universe by ensuring apex predators remain, well, apex. It's basically an exclusive club for the universe's bullies to pat each other on the back or tentacle, or gelatinous pseudopod, and compare notes on efficient hunting techniques. It was during one of their routine patrols of the Milky Way's unexplored sectors that scout ship Inevitable Consumption, commanded by the overly enthusiastic Lieutenant Gulper, stumbled upon Earth. Captain's log, stardate whatever. Discovered new planet in backwater system. Scanning for predatory life forms, Gulper dictated, his 4 eyes blinking asynchronously as he zoomed in on the blue marble. His second-in-command, Officer Masticate, manipulated the controls with his barbed appendages. "Sir, I'm detecting various predatory species, but the dominant bipeds are confusing. They appear to be omnivores with laughably dull teeth and no natural weapons whatsoever." Gulper snorted, a sound like a garbage disposal choking on a spoon. They classify them as harmless bipeds and move on. Probably just another species of clever prey that got lucky with tool use before a proper apex predator evolved. Yes, sir. Though their global distribution is curious, they seem to be everywhere. Everywhere? Well, they must breed like crazy. We'll include them in the report. But they're hardly worth GCAS attention. Just another footnote in galactic history. Whoa. Gulper yawned, displaying 3 rows of serrated teeth. Set course for the next system. I hear it has a planet with carnivorous plants that can digest spacecraft. Now that's worth investigating. Little did Gulper know that his dismissive classification of humans would soon cause the greatest panic in GCAS history and ultimately lead to a complete revision of what it means to be an apex predator. 6 standard months later, the Grand Hall of the GCAS headquarters on Predatoria Prime hummed with the sounds of various apex species mingling before their quarterly prey assessment meeting. The circular chamber featured a massive holographic display in the center, surrounded by tiered seating designed to accommodate everything from tentacled gas breathers to silicon-based crystal entities. Has anyone seen the latest additions to the GCAS database? Admiral Pincertooth chittered, clacking his mandibles impatiently. I'm particularly interested in that new Class M planet in the Orion Spur. Earth, supplied Ambassador Krill, the lone human representative who'd been appointed after formal first contact 2 months ago. Krill was a stocky diplomat with a receding hairline and a perpetual look of someone who'd forgotten where they parked their spaceship. My homeworld. And yes, I've brought something special for tonight's entertainment. General Zklk burbled skeptically, acid green bubbles forming on his surface. What could a species of tool using omnivores possibly contribute to a council of apex predators? Just wait, Krill said with the smug smile of someone about to drop a conversational bomb. I've brought some of our nature documentaries. I think you'll find them illuminating. Councilor Vrax, who was currently shedding his skin in patches that the janitorial staff would later passive-aggressively clean up, leaned forward. Documentaries? You mean propagandized survival recordings to intimidate rival species? No, Krill laughed. Just educational entertainment. We film our planet's wildlife for enjoyment. This collection is narrated by a human named David Attenborough. He's quite famous on Earth. Admiral Pincertooth gestured with a massive claw. Very well. It might be amusing to see what passes for predatory behavior on your world. Load the recordings. The lights dimmed as Krill inserted a data crystal into the holographic projector. The room filled with the majestic orchestral opening of planet Earth, followed by the soothing, authoritative voice of David Attenborough. Here we see the African lion, stalking its prey across the savannah. Initial reaction among the council members was amused condescension. The lions, while impressive by Earth standards, were hardly a match for any GCAS member. But then came the twist. Despite being the king of beasts, the lion's territory has been dramatically reduced by human expansion. Vrax froze mid-shed. Wait, did he just say humans have taken territory from these apex predators? And here we witness the endangered Bengal tiger, its numbers decimated by human poaching and habitat destruction. General Zklk's amorphous form rippled with alarm. Decimated. Your species hunts these impressive hunters? Ambassador Krill nodded matter-of-factly. Little Chidi, tigers are endangered because of us, yes. The conservation efforts are ongoing, but... Conservation? Pincertooth nearly leaped from his seat. You decide which predators live or die. Well, not exactly. It's complicated. Let's continue. Councilor Vrax interrupted, his eyes now fixed on the display with horrified fascination. The documentary shifted to ocean scenes, showing massive whales and sleek great white sharks. The council members had begun to settle down, impressed by Earth's marine life, when Attenborough's voice dropped ominously. The great white shark, one of the ocean's most perfect predators, has little to fear, except humans. Commercial fishing has devastated their populations. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Even Krill looked uncomfortable now, realizing his entertainment choice might be sending the wrong message. Perhaps we should watch something else, he suggested weakly. No, Admiral Pincertooth insisted, his voice unnaturally high. But continue the playback. We need to understand the full picture. As the documentary proceeded through various ecosystems, jungles where humans cleared predator habitats, Arctic regions where humans hunted apex predators, and oceans where humans' industrial fishing had collapsed entire food chains, the council members grew increasingly agitated. By the time they reached the segment on humanity's prehistoric hunting of woolly mammoths, the room had fallen into a stunned silence broken only by occasional whimpers from General Zklk. The documentary concluded with Attenborough's earnest plea for conservation, but the damage was done. The GCAS members stared at Ambassador Krill with newfound horror and, though they'd never admit it, fear. You've conquered all of Earth's apex predators, stammered Councilor Vrax, his reptilian features contorted in disbelief as the holographic display faded to black. Every single one. Ambassador Krill shifted uncomfortably in his seat, suddenly aware that bringing Earth's nature documentaries might have been a monumental diplomatic error. I wouldn't say conquered. We've just kind of coexisted while dramatically altering the natural balance. General Zklk's amorphous form had turned a pale, sickly yellow, the blob equivalent of going white with shock. But you drove entire species to extinction. The documentary showed creatures called saber-toothed tigers and dire wolves. Where are they now? Well, yes, prehistoric humans may have contributed to megafauna extinction, but that was thousands of years ago when we were still developing as a species, Krill explained, trying to sound reasonable and not like a representative of an extinction-causing planet of super-predators. Thousands of years? Admiral Pincertooth's mandibles clacked so violently that a small piece broke off and skittered across the floor. A junior aide discreetly kicked it under a chair. You've been eliminating apex predators for thousands of years. It's not like we set out to. The documentary clearly showed humans with primitive projectile weapons hunting creatures twice their size. Vrax interrupted, scales bristling. And now you use these conservation efforts to control which predators survive. You've appointed yourselves the arbiters of life and death. Krill ran a hand through his thinning hair. Look, you're misinterpreting. Oh, I don't think we are, Zklk burbled ominously, acid green bubbles forming and popping on his surface. That Attenborough human spoke of something called wildlife preserves. These are detention camps for predators, aren't they? Places where you keep them alive for your amusement. The council chamber erupted in horrified murmurs as each member processed this apparent revelation. Several representatives from smaller systems were already edging toward the exits. And then, continued Pincertooth, standing to his full 12-foot height, you document their captivity and broadcast it across your planet as what? A warning to other species. A celebration of your dominance. Entertainment. Supplied a crystalline entity from the back row, its voice like breaking glass. They call it entertainment. This triggered another wave of shocked exclamations. The idea that watching apex predators struggle in their diminished territories could be considered entertainment was beyond comprehension to the council members. It gets worse, rasped Councilor Vrax, who had been rapidly tapping on a datapad. According to our preliminary research, humans also create fictional depictions of predator subjugation. Something called Jaws shows humans deliberately hunting a single shark. Another, called Jurassic Park, depicts humans creating extinct predators only to contain them on an island. For entertainment, someone gasped. For profit, Vrax corrected grimly. The chamber fell silent, every alien eye, optical sensor, or sensory membrane fixed on Ambassador Krill, who was beginning to sweat profusely. I think, said Admiral Pincertooth finally, his voice dangerously calm, that we need to re-evaluate our classification of humans. They are not, as Lieutenant Gulper so naively reported, harmless bipeds. They are something far more dangerous. They are apex predators who prey upon apex predators. Meta-predators, whispered Zklk, coining a term that would soon spread fear throughout the galaxy. Precisely, nodded Pincertooth. And they have developed technology and strategy to compensate for their physical weaknesses. A truly terrifying evolutionary path. Krill stood up, hoping to salvage the situation. Council members, please. You're overreacting. Humans have a complex relationship with nature. But we're not the monsters you're making us out to be. Many of us work tirelessly to protect endangered species. After driving them to the brink of extinction, Vrax shouted, tail lashing behind him, is that supposed to reassure us? That you sometimes decide to be merciful to your conquests? General Zklk had begun to emit a foul-smelling gas, his species equivalent of a panic response. The implications are clear. If humans have subjugated the apex predators of their world, what's to stop them from doing the same across the galaxy? Absolutely nothing, Admiral Pincertooth concluded grimly. I move for an emergency council session to address the human threat. All in favor? The response was unanimous, and Ambassador Krill found himself being escorted from the chamber by two particularly large security guards, wondering how a documentary night had gone so catastrophically wrong. With Ambassador Krill politely but firmly removed from the council chamber, escorted to comfortable waiting quarters, was the official terminology. Though the four armed guards suggested something less hospitable, the emergency session of the Galactic Council of Apex Species began in earnest. Order. Order in the council. Admiral Pincertooth's booming voice cut through the cacophony of panicked screeches, roars, and whatever that high-pitched keening sound coming from the Betelgeusean delegate was. We must approach this human situation with the calm, measured response befitting apex predators. Calm? Calm? Councilor Vrax was pacing in circles, his tail leaving scorch marks on the ornate floor. Did you not see what they did to those dinosaurs? An entire ruling class of apex predators gone, replaced by furry prey animals that eventually evolved into humans. General Zklk, who had stress-dissolved part of his chair, burbled anxiously. The evolutionary implications are staggering. They eliminated their competition and then retrospectively documented it as natural history. It's the most diabolical long-term strategy I've ever encountered. A new voice entered the fray. Director Fangmaster, head of Galactic Intelligence, a svelte six-limbed feline whose species had evolved in triple gravity, were giving her reflexes that made light look sluggish. She slunk to the center of the chamber, tail twitching methodically. If I may, council members, she purred, projecting an air of competence that momentarily calmed the assembly. I've received preliminary intelligence reports on humans that paint a complex picture. Complex how? Demanded Pincertooth, mandibles twitching with impatience. Fangmaster activated a holographic display. For one, they appear to be internally divided on their relationship with predator species. Some actively work to protect what remains of their world's apex predators, while others continue to hunt them. They have something called conservation laws that are inconsistently enforced. A clever facade. Vrax dismissed with a snort that sent twin plumes of smoke from his nostrils. Show the galaxy you're protecting predators, while simultaneously controlling their every move. Perhaps, conceded Fangmaster. But there's more. Some humans form emotional bonds with smaller predator species. They call them pets and provide them with food, shelter, and medical care. My hostages, hissed a serpentine delegate from the upper tier. They're keeping hostages to ensure the cooperation of the remaining wild populations. And Fangmaster's whiskers twitched in what might have been annoyance. Our psychological profile indicates that humans genuinely believe they're helping these animals. They appear to have a concept called stewardship that's deeply embedded in many of their cultures. Stockholm Syndrome, Councilor Vrax muttered. They've been at this game so long they've convinced themselves they're the good guys. Admiral Pincertooth tapped his claw impatiently on the granite podium, causing small fractures to spread across its surface. This debate is getting us nowhere. We need concrete actions. I propose we quarantine the Earth system immediately before these humans realize there are bigger predators out here among the stars. A quarantine might be premature without further study, cautioned Fangmaster. We have conflicting reports about their technological capabilities. Some intelligence suggests they've barely mastered interplanetary travel, while other sources indicate they may have developed weapons of concerning potency. Weapons? General Zklk's form rippled with alarm. What kind of weapons? They call them nuclear, and from what we understand, they developed them primarily to use against each other. A stunned silence fell over the council. The concept of developing species-ending weapons for intraspecies conflict was beyond comprehension. They hunt their own kind. Vrax finally whispered, his reptilian features genuine horror. What manner of evolutionary nightmare are these creatures? Fangmaster's tail swished methodically. My recommendation is clear, we need more information. Direct observation by trained intelligence operatives in a controlled environment. You mean send agents to Earth? Admiral Pincertooth's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. It's risky, but necessary. We need to understand if humans are a potential threat to galactic predator supremacy. I volunteer to lead the mission, declared Fangmaster, surprising no one. Galactic intelligence operatives lived for this kind of high-risk assignment. With a small team of our best shapeshifters and infiltration specialists, we can blend in and observe human behavior firsthand. General Zklk had finally managed to re-solidify his lower half. What about the human ambassador? Krill, should we eliminate him? Absolutely not. Pincertooth slammed his claw down, shattering the podium completely. That would be a declaration of war. No, we'll keep him comfortable and cooperative. Perhaps he can be useful in helping us understand his species. Councilor Vrax, who had calmed marginally, nodded in agreement. And if his species does turn out to be the galaxy-conquering meta-predators we fear, what then? Admiral Pincertooth's compound eyes gleamed with grim determination. Then we do what apex predators have done since the dawn of evolution, adapt, overcome, or face extinction. Let us hope it doesn't come to that. With unanimous approval, Operation Understand Humans was authorized, and Fangmaster departed immediately to assemble her team, leaving behind a council chamber filled with anxious apex predators wondering if they'd just met their evolutionary match. Director Fangmaster's elite team arrived on Earth 3 standard weeks later, having undergone intensive training in human behaviors, speech patterns, and the peculiar habit humans had of touching each other's appendages as a greeting ritual. The team consisted of 5 specialists, Fangmaster herself, disguised as a middle-aged human female with a penchant for pantsuits, Infiltrator Slith, a gaseous entity contained within a human-shaped force field, Technician Nash, a reptilian who'd crammed himself into an uncomfortable human skin suit, Analyst Pearl, a feline metamorph who found human form horribly restrictive, and communications specialist Gulp, a miniaturized version of Lieutenant Gulper who'd been temporarily demoted for his initial misclassification of humans. Their Earth names Karen, Steve, Todd, Felicia, and Tiny had been selected from a database of common human identifiers, though they didn't realize Tiny was somewhat ironic for the bulkiest member of their team. Remember, Fangmaster briefed them as their ship assumed orbit, disguised as what humans called a communications satellite. Our mission is purely observational. Wonderful. We blend in, we gather data, we report back. No interaction with human authorities, no sampling of human specimens, and absolutely no consumption of local life forms, no matter how delicious they seem. She looked pointedly at Gulp, who had a reputation for snacking on mission. What? Gulp protested, his 4 eyes blinking innocently behind the special contacts that gave him the appearance of normal human eyes. I read the briefing. Humans have designated certain other species as food. I'll stick to those. No eating. Anything, Fangmaster enunciated clearly. We don't know what might be sacrosanct to them. Remember the Betelgeuse diplomatic incident with the sacred slime molds? Gulp winced. That particular ambassador had been ritually composted. Their insertion point was a medium-sized human settlement called Portland, selected for its diverse ecosystem and reputation for accepting eccentric behavior, which would help mask any minor errors in their human impersonations. They call their domiciles apartments, Nash Todd observed as they settled into their new headquarters, a modest 3-bedroom unit with mysterious water dispensing rooms and soft platforms humans apparently slept on instead of hanging upside down in hibernation sacks. And they organized them in vertical stacks. Efficient use of territory, I suppose. Focus on the mission. Fangmaster Karen reminded him. We each have assigned observation sectors. Slith, you'll monitor human-predator interactions in something called a zoo. Slith Steve's gaseous form rippled with excitement within his force field. A predator prison. I'll document their subjugation techniques. Pearl, you'll investigate these pet ownership relationships. The concept of apex predators voluntarily sharing territory with smaller predators is unprecedented. Pearl Felicia, who found her human form uncomfortably bipedal, nodded. I've read they keep miniature predators called cats in their homes. The evolutionary implications are fascinating. In Nash, you'll observe human hunting behaviors. According to our research, they have designated areas called supermarkets where they acquire pre-killed prey. Efficient. Nash Todd admitted grudgingly, if disturbing. Gulp, you'll monitor human entertainment, particularly these nature documentaries that started this whole situation. What about you, Director? Gulp Tiny asked. I'll be investigating human authority structures. They apparently have specific humans designated as wildlife management officials who control predator populations. I need to understand their power hierarchy. The team dispersed to their assignments, each equipped with recording devices disguised as human technologies, smartphones, smartwatches, and in Gulp's case, a smart refrigerator that followed him around because he couldn't bear to be separated from potential food storage. The reports they sent back to GCAS headquarters over the following weeks painted an increasingly confusing picture. From Slith, humans don't just imprison predators, they feed them. Regular meals, medical care, even entertainment. The predators don't even try to escape. It's like they've accepted their place in human society. From Pearl, the pet situation is even stranger. Humans have taken small predators into their homes, but instead of consuming them, they lavish them with affection, specialized food, and soft sleeping platforms. The predators, particularly the cats, appear to have reversed the domination hierarchy and now control their human hosts through subtle manipulation. From Nash, humans don't hunt in supermarkets at all. The prey comes pre-packaged, with no sporting element whatsoever. However, some humans still engage in traditional hunting, but under strict regulations about which prey can be taken and when. They call it conservation, but it appears to be highly ritualized predation. From Gulp. Bone Gulp. Human entertainment is obsessed with predators. They don't just document real ones, they've created thousands of fictional ones. Something called Shark Week appears to be a religious festival celebrating the great white shark. And they've made hundreds of films about predators from there, past dinosaurs that they seem to simultaneously fear and revere. Fangmaster's own reports were equally bewildering. Human authority over predators exists, but is incredibly complex. They have laws protecting predators. They punish humans who hunt predators without permission. They've set aside enormous territories where predators can exist without human interference. This is not the behavior of a meta-predator. Species bent on galactic domination. Back at GCAS headquarters, the Council read these reports with growing confusion. The picture emerging was not of a coldly calculating super-predator species, but rather of a complicated, contradictory species with an almost paradoxical relationship to predation. The confusion reached its peak when Pearl delivered her most shocking report. Humans don't just keep predators as pets, they imbue them with personalities. They speak to them as if they understand. They create social media accounts for them. They dress them in artificial coverings. The cats, essays, in particular, appear to be worshipped as minor deities while contributing nothing to the household beyond occasional pest control and frequent disdain. When this report reached Admiral Pincertooth, he stared at his scribe in disbelief. They worshipped smaller predators, while containing larger ones, while hunting others, while protecting some and documenting all of them. What is wrong with these creatures? The scribe, a six-limbed arachnoid, shrugged all six shoulders simultaneously. Perhaps it's time to reconsider our approach to Ambassador Krill. He might be able to explain these contradictions. Pincertooth nodded slowly. Yes, it's time we had another talk with the human representative. These reports raise more questions than they answer. Ambassador Krill had spent the past 5 weeks in what his hosts referred to as luxury accommodations, but what he recognized as a very comfortable prison cell. He'd been provided with everything he needed: food, entertainment, even a small garden, but the force field across the entrance made it clear he wasn't going anywhere until the GCAS decided what to do about humanity. When Admiral Pincertooth finally appeared at his door, accompanied by Councilor Vrax and a thoroughly exhausted-looking Director Fangmaster, Krill set aside the alien puzzle box he'd been pretending to be interested in. Finally, he sighed. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten about me. Ambassador Krill, Pincertooth began formally, mandibles clicking in. What Krill had learned was a sign of agitation. We have been observing your species. So I gathered, Krill replied dryly. Your spies aren't exactly subtle. The woman who calls herself Karen asked me yesterday why humans haven't completed their conquest of Earth's lesser species yet. And the big guy with the portable refrigerator tried to eat a squirrel in the park. Fangmaster's whiskers twitched in annoyance. Zklk was reprimanded for that incident. Look, Krill said, leaning forward. I understand why you're confused. Humanity's relationship with Earth's predators is complicated. Complicated? Vrax hissed, smoke curling from his nostrils. Your species has simultaneously destroyed predator habitats, driven species to extinction, created laws to protect them, built sanctuaries to preserve them, domesticated them, worshipped them, feared them, and documented them extensively. That's not complicated, it's pathological. Krill couldn't help but laugh, which did nothing to improve the alien's mood. I'm sorry, but you've hit the nail on the head. Humans are full of contradictions. We're predators who feel guilty about being predators. We're destructive and protective, often at the same time. We conquer and conserve, hunt and help. But why? Demanded Pincertooth, his patience visibly fraying. Because we can, Krill said simply. Because we've evolved to be adaptable above all else. We're not the strongest, the fastest, or the most naturally armed species on our planet. But we can become anything we need to be, hunters when necessary, protectors when possible. Master's tail swished thoughtfully. My observations suggest humans have a deep emotional connection to predator species, almost a kind of respect, despite your dominance. Exactly, Krill nodded. We respect what predators represent: power, freedom, natural skill. We're fascinated by them precisely because they reflect qualities we both admire and fear in ourselves. And the documentaries? Vrax asked, his reptilian features softening slightly with genuine curiosity. Why document these creatures so extensively? Partly to understand them, partly to preserve them at least in memory, and partly because, well, they're amazing. Krill's voice took on a tone of genuine wonder. Have you watched a peregrine falcon dive at 240 miles per hour? Or a great white shark breach the water's surface? Or a cheetah accelerate from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds? They're magnificent creatures, and we want to celebrate that magnificence. A thoughtful silence fell over the group, broken eventually by Admiral Pincertooth. Our intelligence suggests humans are not currently capable of interstellar conquest, but your technological development is accelerating rapidly. We're explorers, not conquerors, Krill replied. At least, that's what we aspire to be. But I won't lie to you, humanity has a dark side. Arctic mice. We've done terrible things to our planet and its other inhabitants. We're trying to be better. Trying to be better, repeated Vrax, as if testing the concept. A species capable of self-improvement beyond evolutionary pressure. Fascinating. Master's analytical mind had been racing. If I may, Admiral, I believe I understand the situation now. Humans aren't meta-predators in the sense we feared. There's something else entirely, a species that has transcended its evolutionary role and is now struggling to define its place in the natural order. Yes, Krill exclaimed, relieved that someone finally understood. That's exactly it. We're writing our own evolutionary story now, and we don't always know what the next chapter should be. Admiral Pincertooth's compound eyes studied Krill for a long moment before he spoke. The Council will need to discuss this further. But I am beginning to believe that humanity represents a unique case in galactic evolution, a species aware of its own impact and attempting to mitigate it. Does this mean you're not going to quarantine Earth? Krill asked hopefully. I believe we can arrange a more productive relationship, Pincertooth replied. Perhaps a cultural exchange program. These nature documentaries of yours have created quite a stir among our younger members. 3 standard months later, the first official cultural exchange program between Earth and the Galactic Council of Apex Species launched to great fanfare. Earth sent a comprehensive collection of nature documentaries, while GCAS sent similar recordings from their member worlds. Ambassador Krill, now fully reinstated with additional hazard pay, stood proudly beside Admiral Pincertooth as they watched alien youngsters gathered around viewing screens, captivated by David Attenborough's soothing voice describing the hunting patterns of polar bears. They can't get enough of your documentaries, Pincertooth admitted, mandibles clicking in amusement. Enrollment in our Earth Studies courses has increased 300%. Likewise on Earth, Krill replied. The footage of your planet's apex predators has broken all streaming records. Though I think we should warn children that attempting to pet a Murtoxian acid fang might not end well. Still trying to do both study and protect, Pincertooth observed. Your species' contradictions continue. Always, Krill smiled. It's what makes us human. As they watched, a young Murtoxian with scales still soft from hatching gazed up at Krill with enormous eyes. Is it true, the youngster asked in carefully practiced human English, that human children keep predators called cats in their sleeping chambers? It's true, Krill confirmed solemnly. Are they not afraid the cats will consume them during sleep cycle? Krill laughed. No, though the cats might claim all the comfortable spots on the bed. The young alien's confusion was obvious, but they have sharp claws and teeth. Why are they not used for hunting the human children? Because, Krill explained, crouching down to the alien's level, sometimes the most impressive thing a predator can do isn't hunting, it's choosing not to hunt. Cats and humans have formed a different kind of relationship. It's one based on mutual benefit rather than predation. The concept seemed to rock the young Murtoxian's world. Not hunting as a choice? This is revolutionary. Admiral Pincertooth rumbled with something like approval. Perhaps that is humanity's gift to the galactic community, not technology or resources, but a new way of thinking about predator-prey relationships. And perhaps, Krill suggested diplomatically, the GCAS can help humanity remember our responsibilities toward Earth's other predators. We could use some apex predator perspective in our conservation efforts. As the cultural exchange program flourished, a new term entered the galactic lexicon, Attenborough effect. It's defined as the phenomenon wherein documentation and study of predatory species leads to their increased protection and cultural appreciation. And somewhere on Earth, A house cat stretched luxuriously on a sunny windowsill, completely unaware that it had become an ambassador for a revolutionary concept in interstellar relations that sometimes predators and prey could become something else entirely. Friends. Meanwhile, in GCAS daycares across the galaxy, alien children argued over who got to play humans in their games, each wanting to be the mysterious species that could both conquer and conserve, destroy and protect, fear and love the universe's most fearsome creatures. The ultimate apex predator, it seemed, was one that could choose when not to be a predator at all.